going on, everybody? We got a great webinar tonight for you with partnership with Junkies, the Sqwire. We're kind of all over the country. Me and Isaac in Virginia, Stuart, Brandon, you guys are up in DC area.
Yep.
And then we have somebody all the way up in western part of the United States. So you're getting all of us from all over the place. And really tonight is just to share something about this crazy COVID-19 and how it's impacting business and what people can do and how to think through this really once in a lifetime kind of crap. So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thanks for putting this together. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, Stuart, you're obviously the wisest of us all.
Not sure some of my employees this week would agree with that, but that's okay.
I don't know, man. I mean, you told me, I mean, we had a little conversation yesterday. You have been in the business, what, 30 plus years?
30 years last week.
Yeah.
30 years last week.
I'm going on 20 this year. And mine was wealth management, financial stuff, and then financial literacy. And we just talked, I have 3 businesses. You have multiple. Chris, you just closed on a huge deal over in the western part of the United States in Washington. I mean, we have quite a bit of experience in business, right? So it's one of the situations where the one biggest thing that I try to talk to people this week is, how do you prepare for something? Is there even such a thing?
So no, there's no preparing for this. I think no matter what contingency plans any company had, all of that somewhat went out the window, right? I mean,
Yep.
you know, the only things that you may have been able to rely on in the last couple of weeks is some communication systems and some initial backup plans that you had in place for disaster. So for example, I have 15 locations. Some of them are in South Florida. We have contingency plans for when hurricanes hit and things of that nature. And we have redundancy when one location goes down and things of that nature. But we don't have a contingency plan that shuts down the country and you know, overnight drop off in revenues of 40% or more with, you know, combine that with fear for employees for their own health and things like that. So there's been a lot of shooting from the hip. There's been a lot of reaching out to, you know, business partners and other business owners and things like that to find out what they're doing. Everything that I've produced, I've shared within our network so that other business owners can use the same. You know, there hasn't been anyone that I've encountered who said, no, I got this, right? There's just
they're full of crap.
They are. And, you know, it's hard in this area where I am. You know, I'm surrounded by a lot of government contractors, very easy to work from home. I won't say they're unaffected, but they're unfazed from a business perspective. Their salaries continue. They're just, you know, sometimes they work from home anyway and things like that. And a couple of friends call me and, hey, how's it going? I'm like, how's it going? It's going horrible. You know, I mean, what do you mean? He's like, oh, I played golf today. I'm like, you know, that's great, but I didn't play golf today. And you know, you had to make some tough decisions and things like that. But no, to get back to your question, there isn't a contingency plan for this type of thing. And I think that, you know, we're seeing that obviously from the government level down to the private sector and things like that. But
Chris, you just closed on a big deal, right? Tell me, how has this, I mean, we're a few weeks in and Washington State is even further than us, right, in Virginia. Has this put a damper on this process, or did you kind of benefit from the downside in the mortgage rates and kind of locking in when it was like that crazy drop from everything going on?
Yeah. So if I may, I'll talk at 3 different points here. One is, I'm an entrepreneur as well. So I own several businesses, partner in software companies, sales and marketing business. I've got lots of real estate across all spectrums, whether it be single, multi, or larger multi. So that's one thing. So I'm seeing a lot with regard to the response to this on a retail level as well. I currently call on about 70 retailers, and it's affecting them substantially. Our government yesterday just basically shut down all non-essential businesses, right?
Yep.
So it's just been a total scramble all morning with spreadsheets and calls. So that aside, and just to speak to the real estate piece directly, the property we bought was actually in Virginia.
Oh, okay.
And I'm actually about to get under contract, which is really interesting. I've been playing with this for months now, and unfortunately for the sellers, this is gonna bode negatively for them because of all this going on. They keep dragging their feet. Well, now it's going to get worse for them, right? So I'm in the middle of negotiating a deal as well, even further south than Virginia. As far as the Virginia deal and how it all worked out, we did lock in at I think it was a 4.65 rate. It was a bridge debt, so pretty aggressive. Had some options there, so we're really secure and safe on that deal. We had at the last minute so our raise was 2.8 million, and we asked for an additional 300 as we got closer to this issue, so we'd have a little bit of breathing room, which we're glad we did. So we have an additional 300,000 sitting there, which is great. And we have a plan of renovating 60 units. So in addition to our CapEx budget of say 600, we added another 300 and closed well over what we needed to raise. But it was all in the nick of time. I mean, it was a real crunch. The whole team had to pull together.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I was looking at, the Fed dropping in so much cash into the banking system just to make sure that the lending doesn't stop, because we know that's the brakes on the whole economy if we don't get this. And then I just got, so we're a member of entrepreneurs organization. Hey, Teresa. And one of the things that I just got from our members, please see below, please pass this along to your employees, friends, family. If you're in good standing with any loans, credit cards, car loans, personal loans, etc., we can get up to 6 months relief due to COVID disruptions. You have to call the bank, mortgage company, credit card company, etc., and say, I need COVID-19 relief help for a few months. This is one thing that I'll tell you. I obviously had a lot of conversations with a lot of friends and clients, and a previous webinar we did was with a guy named Roland. This is my second language. Ronald Arnold. And one of the things that Roger Arnold said was, even with the 2008 event, he was like, listen, this didn't happen to you, because a lot of people, and one of my friends today, he was like, my pride is telling me I shouldn't take advantage of this stuff. I shouldn't do these things, as far as almost like a bailout conversation. And one of the things that really resonated with me with Roger was like, you didn't do this. You can't think this shit up. You cannot think of a virus coming globally that hits the economy like this. We have never seen it. And to hit and halt businesses like this, like, take advantage of what the system gives you, which is not your pride thing. It's just allowing you to continue going forward and get through this. And, within 60 days, more than likely, we're going to be on the back end of this. And it really resonated, because a lot of people might not take advantage of the sources that we do have. And he said, it was like, the Fed hasn't even touched what they can do from a benefit to the business owners, to the employees, and everybody out there. I talked to my mom today. So my mom is back in Croatia, and it was funny because I'm 42 now. The war in Croatia against Serbia started in 1991 when my parents were 42. And I said, Mom, how does this compare? And she was like, it doesn't, because we went to work. We got paid. The economy continued. I mean, we were fighting. You had to worry about snipers and bombs and everything else. But people didn't get locked into their apartments for weeks at a time, and, with their kids and not being able to find toilet paper. Everything was continuing to move. So really, this is a once in a lifetime kind of thing that I don't know anybody that knows how to deal with this or has any experience whatsoever. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, you mentioned taking advantage, and I've had two conversations, one last night and one today, with someone, and it was mainly revolving mortgages and things like that, and whether you should take advantage of the opportunity, even if you don't need to. And there's a moral right, and then there's from a cash flow standpoint, if the cash is in my pocket, then I have control. If I feel like today I can make my mortgage payment, maybe I morally feel like I should. But the question really boils down to is, we don't know whether this is going to be a 4-week event, a 6-week event, 8-week event, 12-week, whatever it is. And while I may be comfortable today, there might be things that continue to happen that make me feel more uncomfortable. And in addition, this country typically doesn't reward good citizens. And I don't mean that in a good way, but it's the truth, right? I can weather this storm and maybe make all my payments and do all the things that I should do, and I will come out with the short end of the stick when it comes to assistance and benefits and things of that nature. Now, I may have to struggle with that, whether that's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do personally, but I haven't looked into it on a personal level as far as, whether my lender is going to allow me to skip X number of mortgage payments or things like that. But I have looked at it on the business side, right? And I do know that I have loans on buildings, and I have opportunities that if the legislation gets pushed through tonight, where I'm going to be able to keep employees on that maybe I was considering letting go, and that we'll be able to keep them on and expect to get fully reimbursed. And as long as I have the cash flow, then I can do that. I'm not in favor of taking on debt that has to be repaid to weather this.
Yeah, disaster loans.
Yeah, the SBA loans and things like that. That's not. I mean, some of them may be attractive if they're over 30 years, but there's a lot of shorter term, 12-month things and things like that. With the uncertainty, taking on new debt I'm not a fan of if you can avoid that. But if I can take advantage of grants and programs and things that are out there that are available, and there are a ton out there right now, right? Every state has their own. The government's going to release a bunch more. So it makes sense. I mean, you have to kind of do what's right for you, but it certainly makes sense to do the research and do some of that work. And
it's funny where you started with, you're a good man, and sometimes that's good or bad. One of the books that I was just reading, I read too much, but I sent it to a buddy of mine. I took a photo of the first page, and it says, "Any man who tries to be good all the time is bound to come to ruin among the great number of men who are not good." And that's Machiavelli. And it's again, it's one of those things, because as good people, I was, I came to this country. I love this country. It's the best country in the world. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, even during this time. And it allowed me a life that, yes, it is risk. It's a calculated risk. We have 3 businesses, but it's something that I want to do the right thing. And like Mr. Arnold said, it's not something of my decision. I didn't put myself into this situation. We own a CrossFit gym. And one of the things that we're talking about is, again, like you said, Stuart, what's the right thing to do? We got probably 99% of people we're on a monthly membership, and we have to pay our bills and rent and coaches, and we're going online and we're renting our equipment. Finding ways to make it work. But we had couple of emails from people that we know are not financially affected, just to go, "Hey, we're in Maryland. Can we put our membership on hold?" And our response was, "Listen, like, if everybody did that, just because you're out of town, you're not affected by this. We are not going to be here 60 days from now. It's go through it with us. We're doing everything we can to make it right, but stay with us, because we were there for you all the other time." So I think, I really love the restaurant business and what they're doing, giving discounts and being able to, limited menus, but still come by, pick up your food. We can keep those people in business if we all pitch in. This is the time when we really need to think outside the box on how to be a good community, rather than just think about ourselves.
Right.
But the government is, in these kind of situations, there to be able to help us. And like you said, especially on the business side, I have, 12 employees to worry about. You have a whole bunch more. I want to make sure that those people are okay. So yes, I will be looking into places where I can get extra money, grants, and situations that allow me to continue business as I know it.
Well, and we've done our best. Unfortunately, we let 5 people go today, which wasn't an easy decision, and we were holding out, and we're still hopeful that the legislation that will get passed will allow us to keep the rest of the people on board. But everybody that we let go, we spoke with, and we're hoping it's temporary. If I have a way to bring those people back and know that it's going to be covered, we're going to bring them back. And the biggest problem I have is with the decrease in revenue and interaction. I have people sitting in offices or at home doing nothing, right? Yep. And the one thing I do fear is that one of the proposed packages that I saw tonight is going to provide a 4-month incentive to not work.
Yeah.
And it, it really is. It's
But,
600. And it depends on how much you earn, but it's $600 on top of what the state provides for unemployment. And for low wage workers, I don't know how that's going to calculate because they haven't released the details yet. But I fear that it's going to provide some incentive for people to say, yeah, I'll take, I'll leave, whatever.
yeah,
So
because you got to think about it, plus $600 plus unemployment, and then I don't have to pay my mortgage for 2, 3, 4 months,
right.
or my car payment or everything else. So I'm living on, paying the groceries and electric bill, which is, $1,000 a month. Now I'm actually saving money rather than, going into debt.
Sure.
Again, but that's, listen, I look at it and go, that's okay. Because in my mind, if my employees can be okay no matter what, let's weather this storm so that at the end we can still come back, be a team, and be stronger together.
Agreed.
Because there will be another end. Now, how do you guys feel about the fact that somehow people are still figuring out how to work and everybody's at home? I mean, it's honestly making me, I'm sorry, Chris, but it's making me rethink, do I freaking need an office?
Yeah.
I'm paying, $4,400 a month on.
Totally. Yeah. If I could speak to that for a second. So first of all, I want to talk in general about what we do as business owners to protect ourselves against disaster, because this isn't a surprise. Sure, it's never happened, but you knew something was coming eventually, right? When you are an entrepreneur or a business owner, I think one of the companies I rep has this phrase, which is obviously coined a million times, but it's, when in war, prepare for peace. When in peace, prepare for war. The Art of War, Sun Tzu, great book. Yep. And it's true. Like for me personally, and then I'm going to speak to that in general in the workforce. I've always lived well below my means, regardless of how much money I've made, and then created more cash flow and more streams of income. And so when this time hit, I called my team, and I have a small team of people on my one line of business that I run, but I called them and I said, hey, the first day we met, I said, I don't want you to worry. I will not be letting any of you go, and you'll be getting paid in full. But our work is going to have to get creative, right? Yeah. So they're at work, they're working on social media stuff, they're working on digital marketing, they're coming up with concepts. We're on calls every morning. I've got one of them doing some odd jobs and stuff for me out there. And we're just finding a way. And the reason I was able to do that is because as soon as this hit, I broke out a spreadsheet and I took out a 30, 60, 90, 120 day pro forma, and I started figuring out where's my worst and best case scenario in this situation, right? Can I afford to pay these people, knowing that the government is probably going to come in and help out a little bit in some way, shape, or form, but I don't want them to freak out and I don't want their families to freak out. So how do I manage this temporary crisis? Because if you listen to all the experts, they are saying, especially as we lock down, because we're locked down now in Washington. Yep. As we lock down, it's going to get better. South Korea, China, they did a lot of this, and it's getting a lot better, right? Yep. So the question is, once we come out of this short-term mess, how quickly will people be getting back to work and getting the economy moving again? And that could be the 90, 120 day thing instead of a quick 2 to 4 weeks or so, as far as the virus is concerned. So first and foremost, this is a lesson to everyone, not just our group, right? But everybody, why it's so important to save when you're doing well and put money away just in case those emergencies could come along. Not like anybody would be able to keep all their employees on board. We obviously know that's just not sustainable. But for me, I was able to do that because I had only a few employees. With regard to where we're going and the work ethic and feeling guilty about subsidies and help, look, we pay a lot of taxes, probably more sometimes than we should, and we contribute to this country. I'm extremely charitable. I donated all profits to my book, and I do all kinds of things, like I'm sure a lot of us do. And so when the government steps out and says, look, we're going to give you tax incentives, we're going to bypass your mortgage payments, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we all have to take advantage to the best of our ability to sustain our businesses, because when we come out of this mess, the business owners are the ones that are going to drive this economy, right? Absolutely. So we have to be sound and savvy, and we have to utilize any tools that the government's going to throw at us. It's really not about taking advantage. I don't know about you guys, but I've never collected unemployment. I've never collected food stamps, and I was living on couches on my own at the age of 15 years old. Yeah. So, you know what I'm saying? So I think we just have to be positive, and we have to plan. We have to look at our numbers and just figure out what is it that we need to live on to sustain, and then give our customers incentives to stick with us. As you said earlier about gyms and things like that. Same thing with me. We're going digital on selling. One of the lines I rep is a big furniture line, and we're going digital with everything because there are still customers that want to buy. They're in the house. They're not spending money, right?
Yeah.
So
it's definitely a out of the box thinking time, and for the team members to understand. And I like what you said about your team, because, it's like, hey, everybody should be selling now. Everybody should be thinking outside the box. Whatever your job was, it's gone. think of how you can bring the revenue in the door so that everybody can actually benefit to the bottom line. And you can, if you can pay for yourself, I don't have to let you go. That's the beauty of it. And there are ways to do that. If people would get out of their own way and be stuck in those, well, I'm a, like Teresa owns Orange. She owns a great digital marketing and company. Like, she has creatives and she has salespeople. Creatives need to be like, I'm not a creative anymore because I might not be a creative at all or sitting at home on my couch. Let me think of how I can add benefit to this business from a revenue standpoint and really, really add some value. Everybody needs to do that if they're in this situation. I mean, I have a small team like in Sqwire. It's a passion project, right? We're financial literacy. We really try to teach people all the stuff that they've never been taught. And all of us are in this because of heart, not so much because of money. But money pays the bills and pays revenue, pays salaries and the expenses. So in this time when the revenue dries up, we have to think about, okay, how do we think outside the box and bring more value to the company and so that we're all in this together. I mean, really, we have different ways of thinking. You guys know, as entrepreneurs, we're a little crazy because it takes a special kind of crazy to want to do this. I talk to my friends and they don't understand that we signed the front of the check, not just the back of the check. Most people don't understand that. And out of this kind of situation, the entrepreneurs are the ones that have to think and go, okay, where's the opportunity in this? If we get on the other side of this, we need to be better. We need to learn and then just be faster, leaner, meaner, whatever it is. I'm excited. I mean, I got to tell you, I'm excited from a financial literacy standpoint. Nobody knows what to do about this. We have so many opportunities coming out of this. That's amazing. And it's just, the cash flow is tight, but on the other side, there's a whole sea of opportunities. So it's crazy, but exciting.
One of the things I want to talk about, and I think as an entrepreneur, especially depending on how you get started, and from the day that you have your first employee, you take on a role that not everybody's comfortable with, and they don't realize they're truly in that role, and that's a leadership role. Mm-hmm. And after 9/11 happened, excuse me. For the first time in my life, I found myself wanting to hear from the president when that happened, right? And you realize that you felt vulnerable, whatever it was, and you wanted to hear from leadership. And that's what's happened the last couple of weeks. People want to hear from the leader of their organization. They want to know what the plan is. I've been doing my best to keep our folks updated. And we're spread out, so it's mostly through email or video communication. We jumped on a Zoom call right away, daily communication. But it's something that it's a role that you're thrust into, right? And you naturally evolve over time to become that leader, but you're expected to know all the answers. And in this particular case, you don't have all the answers. Nope. Well, now and to your point with we can get through this, right? I've already kind of mapped out how we can get through it. Just like Chris had said, he did a 30, 60, 90, 120 day.
Yep.
What I can't answer yet, and I'm trying, but what I can't answer yet, and I don't think any of us can, is what does this look like on the other side, right? And people want to know that too. And that's something that as an entrepreneur that we're going to have to figure out, what that potentially is going to look like. And things aren't going to bounce back overnight, right? They're going to bounce back. We know there's going to be a sharp rebound initially, but that rebound may have us at 6 or 7% unemployment. Even after it calms down a little bit. Initially, we may see 30%. Who knows, right? So, I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts on how do you plan for that, and what does that look like in your eyes, and how do you?
You mentioned 2008. You mentioned September 11th. September 11th was it was a movie-like situation, right? 2008, was a movie-like situation. And the crazy thing about 2008 and what you are talking about is the knee-jerk reaction. The knee-jerk reaction is to go 180 immediately and change everything and go tight and go really, if you're the tightest player on the Hold'em poker table because you just don't know what's going to happen. So that was the problem. If you remember 2008, and you look at the mortgage industry, they went I mean, they went crazy tight. I mean, you had to pretty much get blood samples in order to get a mortgage.
Right.
Just because that was the knee-jerk reaction. A lot of people are going to have a knee-jerk reaction to go extremely tight to the chest, keep their cash, not spend as much. I mean, there's potential, and this is the scary part, that we're going to go into post-1929 economy where people were putting money in mattresses and people were, not buying anything and canceling all the credit cards. And you're looking at, potentially 10 years of really habit changing attitudes that are going to happen after this. I'm not saying it's bad, because I believe that we were very loose. 2008 shook us, but then it was amazing 10 years afterwards, 11 years that happened that were just fantastic. The S&P 500 was, blasting. Everybody was making money. Everything was great. One of the things I said I read a lot. One of my favorite books, it used to be Built to Last, and the last book, Great by Choice. And in Great by Choice, the biggest thing that resonated with me was that most leaders, most business owners are driven by fear. We make decisions out of fear because we don't know if tomorrow, there's nobody backing us. There's nobody saying that everything's going to be okay and that we're going to be fine. So I think we entrepreneurs are going to figure out that fear is a good driver. And this was a good exercise as long as we get out of it. I feel bad for entrepreneurs that are 60 and are like, hey man, I'm great. Everything's awesome. And I'm going to good. I'm 42.
Thank you for not saying 50, by the way.
I know.
Yeah.
You're still fine. But, I'm 42. I still have 20 some years to go. And this is at 42, I wish I didn't have to look in my nest egg and go, well, this shit's going to be gone in a few months. But I'm keeping people, fed and my house okay and my kids okay and my mom back in Croatia and my nephew, we had an earthquake on top of this stupid virus thing. So I have to send money home just to keep things okay. So, it's a good lesson at 42. Up to this point, from 32 to 42, at 30, I didn't have much money. I didn't have much stuff. So it wasn't such a big impact when in 2008 happened. This hurts a lot more.
Yeah.
Because you look at it like, crap, I should be farther ahead. And as entrepreneurs, as Chris, I wasn't as thoughtful to build the real estate and the businesses that you have. I spent a boatload of my cash building Sqwire because it's a passion project. And you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars out of pocket that I didn't think that the world's going to end 6 months into launch. And now you look at it going, well, I wish I had 200 grand in cash that I had last year, but I spent it. It's just because I was building something that was really going to make a huge national impact.
Let me give you guys something to think about. So it's funny during these times, it's like this happened. And I'm going to be honest with you. Everyone was freaking out, like friends, family, people, entrepreneurs. I'm in all kinds of circles of people and stuff. And everyone's talking about, oh my God, the sky's falling, Chicken Little. What are we all going to do? And viruses and everyone's going to die and buy the toilet paper before it's gone. It's like, what's with the toilet paper? Right. So everyone's freaking out.
I don't know.
And yeah. And for me, honestly, I thought, wow, there's going to be some opportunity. Now I was kind of selfish, but I thought there's going to be opportunity somewhere in this mess. Right. And I didn't know quite what it was, but as I settled down, I realized, okay, I started playing with stocks a little. They start dumping. I start buying some oil, 25% returns in one day. It's like, okay, there was some opportunity. Why? Because everyone's freaking out, right? Oil's going to come back. We're going to be driving, we're going to be flying, but it dropped because of the fear, right? And there's a point to this. So my point is, I've always been very positive and optimistic. And a lot of that is because I had a lot of challenges when I was growing up. And so there was only up for me, really. That's the way I always looked at things. And I feel that way today. And I would say for all of us as entrepreneurs, let me just give you one example. We talk about gyms. My wife loves Zumba. She goes to this instructor, just fabulous, right? The Zumba instructor is this gay guy, right? And she loves him. She's like, this guy's, and he's amazing. I've seen him through the glass, right? And she's like, he stopped teaching for like a month before we all had to leave. And I thought, gosh, I was thinking about him and he has a massive following, more than anyone. And I thought he could make a fortune if he streamed his classes. He doesn't. He just goes to the LA Fitness and does his thing. And I thought, people are dying to work out right now. They're dying to do CrossFit. They're dying to, how can we reach out to our customers, right? on their playground and just stay engaged, because not only can we drive business in some way, shape, or form, because there is, as much as everyone's talking about everyone's broke and unemployed, that is not going to last forever. And the government's going to start spending checks. And guess what? There's only so much toilet paper you can buy. Utilities are going to forgive you for now. Rent's going to forgive you for now. What the hell are you going to spend your money on, right? You're going to spend it on your Zoom classes or Zumba classes or whatever. Yeah. You're going to spend it on Amazon. So if we can just find a way to stay engaged and just hang in there, and whether it's bridge loans we use or credit lines we use or whatever, we will get through it. But what we really need to focus on is the positive and how we can create new streams of income and engage with our current customers. Because when we come out, if there is only 70% of the revenue to be had, let's say the first 60, 90, 120 days out of this thing, well, we want to make sure that we are getting the majority of that business in our locations, right? Yep. And you can do that because if you stay engaged with your customers, they're not going to forget you. But if we tuck our heads like turtles and just kind of hide, no, woe is me, I'm just going to stay in the house and eat bonbons, well, someone else that's smarter is going to take our business when we come out of this thing, right? So I think we just need to really kind of try to get very creative and figure out, how do we reach out to them? We have a captive audience. They're all stuck in house. Look at the Netflix stock these days.
Yep. Well, so let's do it. 7 o'clock. We say we're going to keep this around 30 minutes. Let's do a fire round. If you were in most of our listeners' shoes, what is the one thing that you would be doing right now? I mean, for me, we were talking about the budgeting. Look at the things that you're paying for that you're not using. Contact your mortgage company. Talk to them. Be proactive. Don't wait. Don't default. Because this is, you're in a pool, and this is where the pride thing has to go away, right? If there's one thing that I would give an advice to most people that are listening, or most of my friends or clients, forget pride. We didn't do this. We didn't make bad decisions. We didn't do something wrong. This happened to us. So, banks are going to be fine. And that's one of the things that Mr. Arnold said. He was like, you look at 2008, all these people lost their houses for foreclosures. They didn't do anything wrong. The mortgage companies were the ones that were wrong. But guess what? All the banks and the, Bank of America's, they got a paycheck from the government, didn't have to worry about a damn thing, but you still got foreclosed on. So somehow you look like you were bad in this whole situation. So my, closing thing would be, check your budgets, check your credit cards, see what you're not using, take advantage of any opportunity that's coming your way. Like you said, Chris, be present, be visible, because people will remember that you're giving value in this tough time, and people do have that ability to remember the things that are good in bad times. So that's the one thing that I would tell people. And then just don't be prideful. Take advantage of we have those fail safes in our economy and in our culture that protect us from this kind of stuff. Take advantage of it. Take care of your family. It's going to be okay. Stuart.
So I'm going to address it two different ways. One, from employee consumer standpoint. I think that if this caught you off guard and it has hurt you financially and you weren't prepared, now's the time. If you're sitting at home, and I'll give the plug for Sqwire, whether it's Sqwire or whatever it is, now's the time to buckle down and learn, to read some books, do something, learn how to never be in this situation again, right? You may be underwater at the moment, whatever it is, but you've got to put yourself in a better financial situation. And, if you rely on your W-2 income and you can't imagine getting away from that right now, find a side hustle, earn some extra money, figure out what to do with that money, and so forth. I mean, Wealth Junkies is all about, encouraging people to eventually escape the rat race. And there's a lot of other episodes that focus on building a side hustle if you can't take the leap right away. From a business owner standpoint, I think Chris brought up some excellent points that, you've got to rally the troops and rally your team to think outside the box. Have them do odd jobs, have them build content, do some things. If you don't, one of the things that we did right away, and Daniel, you and I talked about it briefly the other day, the one day I was like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. And then the next morning I woke up and said, I'll be damned, after 30 years, am I going to let a virus take away everything I built? 30 years, no way. And I went into the office that morning with a whole different attitude, and we rallied all of our staff, regardless of your position. And we knew, I'm in the staffing business, we knew that in order to stay in business, we had to become suppliers to essential companies, companies that were in the supply chain. And we already do that in a lot of cases. We got a little lucky that construction in most of our jurisdiction has been allowed to continue, but we had more telephone sales calls made in one day than we probably do in a year. Because I put the word out, we had a call, I gave them, the categories under which San Francisco, which was the first to lock down, the essential companies that they were allowing to continue in business. And we basically set out in 3 different states and made hundreds of phone calls to essential companies. The response that our employees got was positive. We didn't have a tremendous amount of success, but we had companies for the first time thanking salespeople or makeshift salespeople for calling and being there and letting them know that we were going to be available and that we were doing everything we could to stay open. So pivoting like that and finding where we were in survival mode, and you did whatever you had to do to eat that day. And everybody in the organization, regardless of how uncomfortable they were with picking up the phone, picked up the phone because they knew they had to.
That's awesome. So, Chris?
Yeah, it's interesting. I would say, yeah, absolutely. You want to focus on keeping your team positive, because once we get out of this short mess, they're going to be the people you rely on to drive your revenue, and the ones that know your business best are the ones that are best suited to help you, right? So you're not going to want to replace those people. Find a way to make it work. And I would say, to your point, Stuart, about jobs and odd jobs, it's funny because Amazon, like right now, just Amazon in general in my market is huge here. They're offering $17 an hour and double time. I'm like, and guess what's going to happen right now? A lot of these people that are losing their jobs are going to sit there and collect their government check. So for the people who are willing to hustle and just bridge that gap with work, there is work out there to be had. There's lots of grocery, emergency services. The world is still going. And as a matter of fact, if a lot of people that are involved in grocery, even just shipping and such, they are finding creative ways to stay in business and flow goods, even though there are lockdowns. So if your employees if they have to be laid off, just encourage them to start looking, because there are opportunities. And again, with all these online players and stuff, there's people that need help with building content, just basic stuff that they can keep them busy for 4 to 6 weeks. So just don't get discouraged. And my offices, I have a sound room and an office, and they are full of positive things. They're just positive sayings, and I'm always trying to put encouraging things around me. That's just the way I am. I wake up, and it's funny, Stuart, you said that, like, oh, it was doom and gloom, and then I was excited. You're absolutely right. We are in America, you guys. I mean, like, you could be in some third world country where they don't even have water, and they're dealing with this stuff, right? So we really need to stay positive and lead our teams and just find creative ways to get us through, because this is just a setback. This is not the end of America, for Christ's sake. And I think if we have that attitude, we will will ourselves through this. It's just, you're going to have to get creative, and you're going to have to grind. And you might even actually have to put in a lot of hours, believe it or not. Yeah. Just don't eat bonbons and stay out of the gym. Yeah.
It's funny. I was watching my buddy sent me a video of him doing like a Facebook Live thing, and he gave me this book. It was like 2009. It's just and oh my gosh, as soon as I can see the face of the book. But one of the big things is E plus R equals O. And he talks about it's event plus reaction equals outcome. The event happens, but the only thing that we can really do is manage our reaction. We can, I don't know, Stuart, have you ever read the Miracle Mornings book?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, his story is perfect for this, because, he gets in a car accident. He almost can't walk. He's a wheelchair, and he goes, listen, I can be either the meanest, grumpiest dude in a wheelchair or the happiest asshole you've ever seen in a wheelchair. So I chose to be happy. And then, 2008 hits, his business goes down, he gets cancer, and he's like, I can either be, the meanest, horrible, bald guy you've ever met because of cancer, because of 2008, or the happiest dude you ever met. It is my decision. It's my positive mental attitude that's going to guide me through this. And more than likely, if you're building that positivity out of your persona, positivity is going to come back. I completely believe that. Again, I lived through a war from 14 to 18. I had nothing. Chris, you talk about, the beginnings that we had. I mean, I came to America by myself with, $100 in my pocket, paid for my own college, started my own businesses with nothing. This is a temporary thing, and it too shall pass. What's Isaac in my book, I talk about, and I always forget his name, but country is something that I like for some reason. I went to Tennessee and fell in love with it. But he talks about, when you're going through hell, just keep on moving. The devil might not know you're there.
That'll get you through.
Exactly. Just keep on going. And it's just, it is a wake up. I mean, I can tell you personally, and I'm sure that we all felt this way when all this stuff was going on and you're trying to figure out. It's been, I'm wearing jeans and like real clothes today because I looked at my wife and I was like, I'm not going to be in sweatpants. Like, I'm done. This has been a week. I am over it. I'm going to look the part that I want to play in this, and I want to take advantage and I want to go forward. I'm not going to be slack ass dude at home doing nothing. So, and that's just everybody has to make this decision, right? That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah. One last thing I forgot to tell you guys earlier when we were talking about the interaction with your clients, we were really quick to get out like a COVID response sort of letter that said, cleanliness and doing this and practicing that and all that kind of stuff. And then we had our customer base that we just started going through the call Rolodex basically. And I'm talking to retailers that are literally laying in bed in the morning instead of being at their store because they have everybody shut down pretty much, right? And they're telling us, you guys are the only ones out of all our vendors that sent anything about COVID. Like, we're on an island. They're scared, a lot of them. They don't know where to go, what to do, because your clients are potentially business owners as well, right? Or they have other fears and things. So when you're reaching out, it's almost like you're just a friend. Hey, just checking in on you, man. Here's some of the things we're doing as business owners, and we're watching out. And if there's anything we could ever do for you, we really appreciate your business and partnership. Just let us know, man. We're in this thing together, that kind of thing. Like even a Zoom call with your customers. Hey, best practices, whatever. You never know, man. I mean, and it's like someone's paying a membership. They may not even really care, 30, 40, 50 bucks. They care about a $2,000 mortgage, but 30, 40, 50 bucks, I mean, they're not going to shut that down, especially if you're engaging and you're positive. And anyways, just food for thought. I think we got to be positive. We got to keep pushing through.
I agree.
Well, we ought to recognize the newest entrepreneur in the group here, who has been an entrepreneur for all of 60 days.
All right.
Brandon left his secure and stable job.
What a great decision!
Welcome.
I'm glad I'm not working the streets right now, dealing with all this mess. But no, I think of it. Your last question, kind of a different standpoint for people who are kind of new or kind of have a business idea. Doing something different that all, like you said, everybody else is kind of shutting down right now and giving up. This is your opportunity to do something that other people aren't doing, because once this is over with, you're going to, shoot out and that's how you become successful. Things are going to bounce back, like we talked about. And building up, using this time sitting at home, doing nothing, unemployed or whatever to build your business. I think it's a perfect time to take advantage of it.
I mean, I love Brandon. I love your guys' Junkies brand and what you guys are putting out there, because it is out of the box thinking. It is really putting people in a position where they can learn from everybody else's knowledge. The reason I read so much is because, I would rather learn from somebody else's mistakes through their words than my own.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's the one classroom that you can get that's very cheap, library card or $19.99, and Amazon will deliver. I mean, just through this whole thing, I have 4 books that have been delivered in the last week, just because I'm learning about all the stuff, how to deal with change and Rockefeller habits, and it's amazing. So building this content, I mean, I'll follow the EO chat boxes and everything, and everybody's talking about, hey, I never thought I was going to write a book, but I don't got time that I never thought I had, so I'm going to write a book. Because why not take advantage of the opportunity that you had? And this is once in a lifetime thing. It can be the bad or good. It's how you see it and how you perceive it and how you act through it. So it is different.
Well, it'll be interesting to see the creativity that comes out of this, right? 6 weeks from now, I wouldn't be surprised if we see things we've never seen before. I mean, as a country, we're a pretty creative bunch, and it'll be exciting. I think you can think ahead. You can think of products. You can think of services that are going to be needed or more in demand as a result of this. And, there's going to be people that are better positioned because they spent this time giving that some thought. And I think, I'm a little jealous because I'm in that mode of having to protect what's already built. I'd almost rather be in Brandon's shoes, right? Where, hey, I've got this time and to Brandon's point, I mean, I think you guys are 100 some odd episodes in or whatever. The guy spends, 7 hours a week talking to successful entrepreneurs and hearing those stories and so forth. And, it's like reading 7 books a week, as you just mentioned. And, it's hard not to get motivated when you hear successful stories. And even if some people are full of it when they come on the show, it doesn't matter, right? It's just that, it's something that got him going and caused him. And he's got a couple of things in the works, which are pretty exciting. We've talked about partnership with Sqwire and stuff like that. But, Chris and I have been on Tuesday night calls for real estate for several months now. And I mean, just the inspiration you get from hearing other people complete successful deals and things like that just keeps you going. So if you're not, I know we don't have a lot of people on the call tonight, but if they watch it in the future, we're big proponents of masterminds and group meetings like this. And, I can tell you that, initially when I got on the call, I put on my happy face, but I'm in a better mood. Right. I'm in a better mood than when we started. And, it's been a tough day. And, if it can end on a positive note, I'll take it. So
that's the thing.
That's awesome.
I'm a big believer in really sharing and going through stuff, because when you get a bunch of people talking, things don't look as gloomy, because you can get into your own head and darkness can seep in. But when you're talking to other people that are going through the same thing and we're all coming up with ideas on how to do better, it's inevitable. The positive things are going to come out, and tomorrow you're going to wake up and go, you know what, just get off your ass and go do something. And then if I need to, hey, Stuart, let's get on a 30-minute call and just talk through, or Chris, hey, give me something positive, because it does give you that ability to go like, hey, if they're doing it, I love you, Stuart, but you're not smarter than me. I'm not smarter than you. Like, right. We all do this shit. So it's just a fact of, like, it's that positivity of a group that gets you moving. And, I tell you, if you haven't read Jim Collins's Great by Choice, it is a fantastic book, because it does talk about times like this. It is.
Yeah, he's got several that are really good.
Yeah. I mean, he's got several. And the last one, The Great by Choice, was fantastic, just because he talked about the fact that all the other books that came out were pre-2008. Everybody's doing great when everything's great. But who does great when everything's shitty? When things are really bad, when things are not going great? And it gives multiple examples. And it's a fantastic read that really puts things in perspective. And it does kind of cover what we cover tonight, is there's opportunity in a lot of things. And as long as you're falling forward, you're going to be fine.
Absolutely.
So, hey, guys, thank you so much. I would love to do this more often as we, learn about all this stuff and see kind of what things are progressing, how things are progressing. For those that are going to be watching the recorded sessions through all our social media and the platforms, reach out, ask questions, and we can always jump on another call to address any of those. But guys, this has been fantastic. Teresa, thank you for coming on and listening tonight.
Thank you. Have a good
Thanks,
night,
Daniel.
guys.
Have a great night.